Good afternoon. This is Joel Gerber.
Mr. Chair, this matter seems, in my view, meets the four tests. Initially, I looked at it and I thought, well, you know, is it a little bit, given that there's mostly bungalows on the street, is it a little tall, or is the massing a bit big? But the planning department has submitted a memo which I found to be quite helpful, and they did note in that memo that the steeply pitched peaked roof helps mitigate any massing of the building, and I agree with that assessment. So on that basis, I'm prepared to bring a motion forward for approval of the application, subject to the conditions set out in the planning memo, that it be built substantially in accordance with the plans specified, to ensure that those mitigating features are maintained. And I believe that's the only condition.
Hello, this is Karozma Panchipakasan. I'm the agent for the owners. Good afternoon.
Mr. Chair, this one is very straightforward. They're proposing a very modest addition. I've noted here that they're adding like 7.2 meters square in this case. So the existing dwelling in terms of FSI is well over. So my motion is for approval of the application, subject to without any conditions.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me? It's Paul Northgrave. Oh, good.
I'm happy to move a motion on this. I think it's a very minor application that's put before us, and adding a rental unit in an existing house, I think, is a positive feature anywhere in the city, especially in this context. So, see no negative impacts from this application, and move to approve with no conditions.
Hello, I'm here. Peter Higgins of Peter Higgins Architect Incorporated.
Sure, I'll put forward a motion. I think the variances being requested are quite minor, and the context that this is being proposed in really displays a lot of these types of new builds, and this is completely in line with the setbacks and heights that are being proposed here. So I move to approve with no conditions.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to second that. And I noted when I reviewed the plans that the depth variance and length variance are basically for the first floor, and that the second and third floor step back. So I think, that mitigates any impact on neighbors. So I'm happy to support the motion for approval.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me now? Thank you very much. Yes, it's a very straightforward application, and
Mr. Chair, I'm happy to bring forward a motion for approval. It's enclosing partially enclosing a front part of the front porch, and in my view, this is the epitome of minor. So, motion for approval without any conditions. I'm sorry. Yes, I see that now. So subject to that, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. My name's Joshua Butcher, and I'm a planner with Bousfields, and we're the planning consultants to the owners, architects, and future residents of this subject property. Flip to page 2. If you flip to page 2 there, that would be helpful. So, and then I will give some direction to flip through this. So the subject property is a corner lot that fronts onto Ulster flanks onto Lippincott and backs onto a rear public lane. And if you flip to page 3, you will see that the property is presently developed with a 2-story dwelling that is built to the front, side, and rear lot lines. And there's a 1-story garage that backs onto the rear lane with access from Lippincott. And if you flip to page 4, you will see that the surrounding physical character generally includes a combination of 2- and 3-story detached and semi-detached dwellings, including the block of 3-story townhouses to the south. If you flip to page 5, so the application before you seeks 8 variances to permit a 3-story fourplex plus a 2-story laneway suite. The proposal has been designed in a house form vernacular to respect and reinforce the existing physical character of the neighborhood and represents a desirable form of gentle density or missing middle housing that is now permitted and even encouraged under the OP and zoning following the city's changing lanes planning study. If you flip to page 6, you will see that the proposal will result in 5 dwelling units, 1 for the owners and architects who are looking to downsize, plus 4 rental units. As I will explain, the 8 requested variances generally improve or maintain the existing conditions on site today. If you jump to page 8, these are one more. As they read on the notice, variance number 1 requests a rear yard setback of 9.77 meters, whereas 1.5 meters is required. This is the only variance associated with the laneway suite, and it improves the current condition as the existing garage is set 0 meters from the lane. In discussions with planning and transportation, it was agreed that the proposed setback meets the intent of the zoning bylaw as it allows for the 2.5 meter setback from the center line of the lane to allow for the lane to be widened over time. Additionally, no additional maneuvering room is required because no parking space is proposed within the laneway suite. You jump to page 9. Variances 2 and 3 request a rear main wall height of 12 meters and a front main wall height of 10.53 meters, whereas 9.5 meters is permitted. Importantly, the proposed overall height conforms with the zoning, and the built form impacts of the rear main wall will be limited as it tilts backwards at a height of 5.2 meters, and the building length won't project beyond the rear main wall of the adjacent dwelling to the east at 82 Ulster. Concerning the front main wall, it fits well within the range of heights within the vicinity of the property, including the 3-story towns to the south, as well as the other additional main wall heights kind of approved in the vicinity by this committee up to 11.8 meters. We jump to page 10. Variance 4 requests a building depth of 14.83 meters, whereas 14 is permitted for a fourplex. This represents a minor deviation and only applies to the second and portion of third floors. The ground floor and basement have a depth of 13.73, and it's worth noting that if this were a single dwelling, the permitted building depth would be permitted to be 17 meters. And if you jump to page 11, you will see that the proposal actually is far less than what exists on site today. So today it's 18.37 meters. If you jump to page 12, variance 5 requests an FSI of 1.4, whereas an FSI of 1 is permitted. However, like many residential properties in older Toronto neighborhoods, the existing and approved densities well exceed the zoning. In this case, the proposed density at 1.4 FSI is consistent with the range of densities observed in this area and is actually less than what exists on site today when you do the various exclusion calculations. And then if you jump to page 13, so this finally, variances 6, 7, and 8 all request a front and side yard setback of 0 meters. A 0 meter front yard setback maintains the existing front yard condition. However, practically, there will continue to be a 5.96 front yard setback due to the city-owned boulevard that spans the north side of Ulster. And similarly, the side yard setback at 0 meter maintains, again, the existing condition today. However, practically, there will be a 4.65 meter side yard setback along Lippincott due to the city-owned boulevard. And again, if you jump to page 14, you'll see that these are the existing setbacks today with the same boulevard. And then it will conclude if you jump to page 15. In closing, the owners have undertaken extensive community engagement with 12 letters of support, 1 letter of objection, who they have since met with. City Planning, as you said, has reviewed the proposal in an email saying they do not object. We have 3 staff reports from Transportation, Engineering, Urban Forestry. Neither object to the proposal and recommend several approval conditions, which we do not object to. And it is for all these reasons that I would, it's my opinion that the variances satisfy the 4 tests in the Planning Act, and I would respectfully recommend that the committee approve these variances, and I would be happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Yes, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Thank you. My name is Neil Stevenson, and I am the owner of 224 Lippincott Street, which is 7 houses to the north of the subject property on the west side of Lippincott. I have a very clear view of the subject property from my front porch. I have owned and occupied this home since 2007 for the last 13 years. I was delighted to learn of this project and to see the plans for this property at 84 ULSTER. I also believe that the application is consistent with the intent of the official plan and the zoning bylaws. I would like to list 4 brief reasons why I'm supporting this application. First, that corner of our village, of Harvard Village at Lippincott and Ulster, is somewhat barren in terms of tree canopy. And unlike the northern part of Lippincott towards Harvard and the southern part towards College, I was therefore very happy to learn that the beautiful large blue spruce tree immediately in front of the current property will remain, and that the applicants intend to plant new fruit trees and other plantings to further green and beautify that corner. Secondly, I read in the 1 letter of opposition that the objection was that the laneway was too small, and I'd like to provide a rebuttal to that. I have gone to the site. I have measured the exact length of that laneway from the southern wall of 199 Lippincott to the northern wall of the current garage structure. It is 10 feet wide. Most cars, and I've measured several that were on Lippincott parked cars, most typical sedan cars are 5 feet wide, and larger vehicles like vans and SUVs are 6 feet wide. There is plenty of room there. And I would also final comment on this is that our village and our neighborhood, downtown Toronto here, including the Annex, Palmerston, and several others, have many laneways like this, and this one is not unlike them. It is not an outlier. Thirdly, the argument that we often hear in projects like this is that the plans are not consistent with the style, the character of the neighborhood, and what have you. This is not true. Harvard Village and Lippincott are very eclectic streets and an eclectic neighborhood. And we have all styles, shapes, sizes, and ages of home, everything from semi-detached to fully detached large homes to cottages and townhomes, row houses. And finally, I believe as a resident and citizen of this city that Toronto and Harvard Village in particular needs more density, not less. We need more housing in this city. And my understanding is that the applicants intend to create 5 units, 1 or 2 of them which are going to be used by themselves, which will leave, I believe, 3 units available to the public such that they could have very high quality housing in a very attractive and very convenient and very central neighborhood. For all of these reasons, I would urge the committee to support this application, and I believe it is very much in the interests of our neighborhood. And that concludes my comments. Thank you very much.
I'm happy to put forward a motion on this. I think this is a wonderful project, honestly. It really, the variances are being requested are net improvements over the existing condition in almost every case. And I think it's really a creative and non-intrusive way to get 5 units on a lot. I think this is something that can and should be replicated around the city. So I move to approve, subject to development engineering conditions in the May 19th memo, transportation conditions September 30th, and urban forestry condition number 1.
Yeah, I completely agree with Mr. Reed, Peter Reed. I've studied the plan and the renderings as well, and all the numbers. I think has been very carefully designed. It's a very nice addition to the neighborhood.
Development engineering, transportation, and forestry.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. I'm Trevor Gain, the agent for the application. Thank you, sir. The application before the committee is for the replacement of a single-family dwelling. The current dwelling is a bungalow, very typical what you see all over East York in this immediate area. The owners are long-term residents in the East York area. They moved away. Now they're looking to move back, and they're looking to develop a house to suit their family, surrounded by other family members in the immediate area. And able to accomplish this, we're asking for 4 minor variances: lot coverage, building height, wall height, and floor space index, all 4 of which are, in my opinion, very typical of what the committee has approved in the past and what you see in the area, including up and down the street of LANKIN Boulevard itself. The GFA variance, if I just touch on that shortly, is really just a result of kind of an outdated zoning standard that was enforced since the post-World Wars. You're allowed 45% floor space index in this area, and that results into a house that can be about 1,454 square feet. You know, back in 1942, that was an extremely large house, but by today's standards, family of 5 with washrooms and the amenity space, and just given the expense of what it costs to buy a property, build a property, they're looking to do something that they can continue to grow in and live for a long period of time. The other variance I want to speak to is about lot coverage. So during the design of this house, we designed the lot, the coverage worked out to be about 39%, again, which I thought was about a 4% increase in what was allowed. So working on other properties, we thought this was acceptable. However, during the zoning review process, there was a little bit of a discrepancy between my opinion and the zoning examiner's opinion. So what happened is that the rear deck that we're proposing is designed as of right, projection, size, height, everything, up to 5% of the lot area, and that's what we have shown. And then the front porch and covered balcony at the front, that projects into the rear yard setback. So again, both of those would have been exempt from the coverage calculation, leaving the house massing itself at the 39%. However, when you look at the site plan, right in front of the porch, the front wall jogs back in a little bit, maybe about 30 inches or 3 feet from the required front yard setback. So the eagle-eyed examiner noticed this, and that little 3-foot strip accounts for about 1% increase in coverage. Thus, when you add the 1% with the 5% at the back, that's our additional 6% coverage, and then we're at the variance now for 45. So there was no really ill intent here to make the house as big as possible. Our side yard setbacks comply, our front, our rear all comply, and like I said, we thought the 4 variances that we're seeking are minor, pretty much in keeping with what the committee have seen in the past in this area, and we seek your approval.
Hello? Hello? Oh yes, I'm sorry I had to leave because I've been waiting since 1:30 and I have a doctor's appointment at 4, so I'm in the car, but I can speak, if I may. Good afternoon. Okay. No, I'm hands-free. I'm fine. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I've lived at 108 Lankin Boulevard for almost 24 years in November, and I knew this day would come that I would be sandwiched between 2 large monster homes. And I'm not disputing the fact that somebody wants to build beside me. That's not the issue. The issue is my bathroom on the north side of my home. I'm concerned about the placement of windows on the 2nd story of the new build. I know you can put all kinds of curtains and blinds, but the light is going to be a factor. The second issue is the light. I know when 104 was built, the people in 106 that is going to be rebuilt now, they had a terrible time with the lack of light from 104 rebuild. And I just know with the height and the depth of 106, I'm going to lose a considerable amount of light in my home. And that's my main concern as well as the privacy thing. I mean, the privacy thing I would deal with if I had to. I would rather not put any more film on my windows or blinds or curtains. But anyway, but the light is really going to be a factor. And I know that from other people who have built large monsters. I lost a lot of light in my backyard this summer with the home on Judith. It was extended quite a bit further back, and a lot of my plants, my rhubarb and everything just died. So I don't know if there's any kind of enumeration that will be given to put maybe a skylight into my home, or am I responsible for that? That's just my concern. Well, my kitchen window is the only other window on that side. It's going to reduce the amount of natural light the thought of, if I am home during the day, the thought of having to burn electricity and pay for that, you know, when there's daylight, but it's going to block substantially. So kitchen and bathroom are the two rooms that have windows on that side of the house. No, that's basically it. As I said, I don't want to make bad friends with my new neighbors. That's not my intent, but those were the concerns I had. The house that was built to the north of me, for some reason, I had nothing to do with it. It had no windows at all on the south side. Now, I didn't ask anything about it. It wasn't even a concern. My dining room window is on that side, but I figured the only time I use in my dining room is at night and the light would be on. So I didn't, you know, I wasn't concerned. But your kitchen and your bathroom, it's going to go really dark, because that's what happened to 106. They have a skylight in their kitchen currently, and it was because 104 was the very first home in the area we have a second story, and it really cut down on the light in their home. So anyway, I'm just asking if that was something, or not likely, but I thought I'd ask. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for calling. I am sorry I couldn't wait any longer, but appreciate you calling.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi, yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's just unfortunate that the new owners did not get a chance to knock on Carol's door. I think she was out of town from what the owners were telling me. My clients were telling me. I can't confirm that. So we could have addressed that and showed her a better elevation than maybe some, you know, how the shadowing might come around. First of all, I would just like to say I don't think this is a monster home. I know it's kind of a term that gets thrown around in the Committee of Adjustment quite a bit. The proposed GFA is just around 2,500 square feet, 4 bedrooms, so it's in keeping with the area. On the site plan, you look, we are aligned with the house at 104. We're at just over 14 meters of building depth. We're not even at the maximum 17. So, you know, we did try to limit the length. The design sort of followed that. Regarding the light, that's going to happen regardless. You know, it's a 2-story house compared to the existing bungalow that was living beside her for the last 50 years or so. So anything we propose will cast a shadow of some amount. You know, whether we ask for the height of the wall height, there still is going to be a 2-story wall beside her. I will point out to the committee that based on our setback, which is 0.9, and their setback, she has a driveway north of us, south of her property. It's another 2 meters. So, you know, 3-some meters, 10 feet between the properties will allow some light into that property. And as the sun tracks around into the later afternoon, just given the skew of Toronto as it faces Lake Ontario, there will be kind of afternoon sun that will find its way there. To the north, on the north side of our, you know, she's mentioning her bathrooms. We have 2 bathrooms and we have some windows at the stair, so there's no intent for overlook or privacy. That wall, that section of the wall is set back another 0.3 meters, so there will be 1.2 meters minimum from our property line plus the distance to her. So I think there's adequate separation there in terms of privacy. And I think I captured most of her concerns.
I'm happy to move a motion. I understand the concerns of the neighbor, but I do think that the applicant stated well that most of what's happening on this redevelopment is within rights. Noting that there's no setback variances being requested and that the height variances are really marginal, like very small. So, and I think it's also indicative of what's happening in this part of the city and these parts of the city more broadly, and that bungalows being built up. I think the impacts are minor given the design of the house. So I'd move to approve, subject to Community Planning's September 25th report and Urban Forestry Condition 1.
Hi, my name is Dimitri Kolarov. I'm the agent of the owner and the architect of the current proposal for a third-story addition to the existing two-story apartment building. This building was built in its current shape, 1929. It was apartment building before with two-story apartment building. It has a very specific location. It's surrounded, first of all, the property is half a circle as a shape. It's an orthodox shape for property in any neighborhood, and it's surrounded from three sides from streets. On the south side is the only immediate neighbor located adjacent to 19 LEEDS property, and that's the side property line for which we believe has absolutely no negative consequences from what we are proposing. The proposed third-story addition will not cast any shadow on any of the adjacent additional shadow on any of the adjacent properties because it's located on the north end of this residential block. We do not propose any windows on the third-story addition, which would overlook the neighboring property. And basically, the increased floor space index, which is one of the variances, comes due to the fact and proven demand on the residential market in the area for additional rental units. The current owner purchased the building in 2016. They did some renovation, and there was a very high demand of this type of units. And due to the adjacent proximity of the subway station, Bloor, Oxington, and TTC service, we believe that this was a good approach. It's not unusual for the area. For example, at about 150 meters to the east at 820, 8 Show and Leeds, so that's the corner, the end of Leeds, we have a building, 3-story rental apartment building, which maybe has a footprint even bigger than this, than our proposal. There are other 3-story houses in the immediate neighborhood. Parking was never provided on this property. It's not suitable for parking. But with the policy of the city to move to less vehicular traffic, with the type of units and with the experience that the owner had during last 3-4 years by the tenants, there was only one demand for parking space, which was met by purchasing space, dedicated space on street parking by the city. So depth of building, that's the existing depth of building. We do not propose any overhang or extension. We are trying to match the current appearance, and we believe that with this intensification of the number of residential units in the area, we are meeting the demand and the way the city policy is moving towards. Very welcome.
Hello, I'm Mike Thompson at number 1 Leeds, which despite the difference in numbers, it's an odd street. So number 1 is right across Carling Avenue from 19. So I am immediately to the west across Carling. So I see this building the whole time. So I do appreciate the city's intensification efforts for and the need for more rental properties. So in principle, I support the intention. My concern goes back to one of my concerns goes back to the 2016 renovation. I didn't submit to you a photograph, but I do have photographs, and I tweeted to the City of Toronto, the Forestry Department, that there was no TPZ put around the trees. There was a mature and healthy mulberry tree which died because there was no TPZ put around that tree, and not only no TPZ, but there was the large construction bin was dropped right immediately alongside it, and also a couple of cubic meters of gravel and dirt right at the base of the tree, which killed it. This was in August of 2016. At the same time, I was doing my own renovation and had TPZ around several trees, so I can tell you it rankled that I was following the instructions, and this developer apparently didn't feel obliged to, and the city obviously didn't call them on it. So that's one concern. Three trees were subsequently planted by the city in the city right-of-way alongside that arc that you can see in the drawing. 2 of them died, have not been replaced. The third would have died this summer, except I went across the street and watered it during a hot spell. So the remediation efforts to make up for that tree have, I think, failed. So I'm dismayed, I think, at the level of attention that this homeowner, this property owner has given to the immediate property around it. The other concern I have is that a block away on Crawford Street, there was a very recent addition. I'm not saying it's by this architect or anything, but I've seen some additions, an upper addition to a commercial property, which may or may not be the purview of this panel. But Banjara Restaurant recently added an addition, and I think every member of our community would tell you that it's a cheaply made eyesore that's been added to the top of a restaurant. So I am concerned about how this will look. I know I'm not here to judge architectural design, but if I'm going to have to look at it for the rest of my life, I am concerned that something might be done cheaply, like the Crawford Street example I just gave. So those are some of my concerns in a nutshell. I also had a question about the variance that I've been reading about in this note that went around to the community, and I hope someone can ask it. It says that it's described as a minor variance in the floor space. As I'm reading it here, it says maximum permitted floor space index is 0.06 times the area of the lot. The floor space of the altered building will be 1.72, or pretty much that's 3 times the floor space. It is described in the notes here as a minor variance, but it sounds like it's 3 times the allowable floor space. So perhaps someone on the panel can enlighten me on that. Those are my main concerns. And I can provide images. I'm afraid I didn't get them submitted to your panel about the way the lot was prepared for, or not prepared, as the case may be, for the 2016 renovation, and that's a concern of mine. And I hope the committee will exercise its authority over some of this. I guess I'm not affected by the sunlight, so that would be my main concern. But I am not affected by the sunlight, and I appreciate that the architect noted that it's in the placement of it. I would not be affected by it. So it was merely a question about what, you know, if 3 times floor space change, is that considered a reasonable amount for what if obviously the zoning laws are laid out for a reason, and if it's 0.6, that's designated to be the standard for a reason, and to triple it, has that been changed because of the city's changes to its master plan? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mr. Chair, it might help the neighbor to know that the existing property is currently over for FSI. I noted here in my notes that it's at 1.26. So while the FSI in the bylaw says 0.6, it currently already is well over that, the existing building as is. So I don't know if that helps or addresses what you were asking to the neighbor. Does that help?
I understand. Yeah, thank you for clarifying. I understand that it is higher than, it is already higher. I'm not sure how the fact that it's already higher would justify going higher still, if that makes sense. I would also like to clarify something about the building immediately. Well, it's about 100 meters to the east at the corner of Shaw and Leeds that the architect referred to. That's not a 3-story building. It's actually it's 2 with a split level basement. So it's not as high as this one would be. Again, I'm not in principle against adding some height. We are near a subway, as he stated. And so that's not a major objection. I guess my concern is about the shoddy way in which the 2016 renovation was done, and not appreciating the way that was handled by these owners.
Okay, can I talk? Yeah, I listened carefully. Yes, I'm ready to respond the best I can to Mr. Thompson. Okay, I'm glad that there are still people who care about trees, and we are always thinking about that. And it's unfortunate what happened in 2016. I wasn't required to supervise construction, so I wasn't aware about that. Right now, I'm looking on street view on the building. That street view was taken 2017. And I see trees, I see green areas, I see sidewalks, I see nicely done garbage enclosure, which shows that the current owner definitely cares about, and I know them, and I know that they do care. So what I can do is to actually transfer to them this request, and to make sure that in any further work that may eventually be done on the subject property, they will do much better than in 2016. With respect to the floor space index, as it was already mentioned, the existing building built 90 years ago had already a floor space index of 1.26. And the increase that comes 90 years later is just 0.45. It's not so much. And when we consider the quality of living, the development of a specific area, of course, we try to comply with the requirements of the zoning bylaw. But in the same time, there are things which can and cannot be done. If we are building on top of existing 2 stories with apartments below, with specific location of exit stair, front and rear fire escape, we cannot just start trimming like a piece of cheese this 3rd story in order to minimize, because then we won't provide the quality that's expected from any new residence. I believe that with no other than the specific entry of the bylaw, no other negative impact to any of the neighbors for the increased floor space index, that I would say please consider what you just heard, because it's definitely improvement and contribution to the demand for the area.
I have a question. It's just relating to the prior variance that your client obtained in, I think it was 2016, for increase in apartments, but in the basement. Why the change now to build on top rather than utilize the space in the?
Well, it's not a change. They do have the units in the basement, and as you can see on the application, the existing units are 7. There are 3 bachelor units in the basement, and 2 on the ground floor and 2 on the 2nd floor.
My apologies. I misread. I misread the application. So they are in the basement already. So they're adding more. Okay, yes. That's great. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, there is currently nicely done wood closure for the garbage bins, recycling bins on the west side. I cannot judge is it sufficient or not, but there is plenty of room, if needed, to add, due to the 2 additional units, to add additional garbage bins. It's possible to be enlarged.
I'm happy to put forward a motion on this. I think when we've got these kind of existing apartment buildings in neighborhoods, then they often present opportunities for intensification. And it doesn't always work, I don't think. But in this case, I think it does, because of the lack of shadow impacts is important, I think, being on the north end of a block. And it is a very diverse area in terms of the built form, with the church kitty-cornered and a lot of different elements. So the variances themselves, I don't see any impacts coming out of them. And this is adding additional rental housing within a very short walk of the subway, which is, I think, which is necessary. So I move to approve, subject to no conditions.
Oops.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of committee. My name is Andrew Gologna. I'm agent and designer of Lane House. Yeah, before we move forward, I have review planning staff report, and I would like you to ask for deferral if possible. So in that case, because there is some information should be, because as I see not everything is stated correct. Yes, the family is doing this development for their daughter, and they want to make sure they will get approval. So that's why they even open to some alternative solution to be provided, because as I understand, they can get refusal.
Yes, I'm Angela Harvey, and my address is 589 Gladstone Avenue. I'm at the property immediately west to 54 Bartlett, and I'm against the current outline. I'm guessing you'd like to understand the reasons why. No, I would be open to deferral in the hopes that that would address my concerns. I'm all for laneway housing, just not the proposal that we see before us.
Hello? Oh, yes, hello. I'm not very good at this. I was just monitoring. I live at 74 Bartlett. I wasn't planning to make a comment. Yes. Oh, okay. Yes, I was just explaining that I live at 74 Bartlett, and I was monitoring. I wasn't planning to make a comment one way or the other. Okay.
I just want to mention that, especially when the chair mentioned about that they were given opportunity, I think it will set up a very bad example to the others if they can just cancel and reschedule again whenever they want. So I wouldn't recommend to reschedule. I recommend to move forward.
I agree with Mr. Chang. I think they've had an opportunity to make the changes requested by planning, and they said no. I don't know what exactly they can do to appease planning at this point. So, and they haven't indicated exactly what changes they're proposing, but I think a deferral at this stage, particularly when they were well aware of the fact that the planning department would be writing a recommendation report for refusal, which was clearly stated to them. I'm not in favor of a deferral on that basis.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with my colleagues. So I move a motion to defer, to refuse the request for deferral.
Yeah, we're gonna start with our explaining like why I asked like for deferrals because even like in the report at the beginning it's saying that the following variants are being requested, and there is like only 2 items. But if you're gonna open my waiver, right? So there is like 8 items. There is like a second page on that. So. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll try my best. Yeah. So basically, in staff planning report, there is some deficiency. As you can see, they have 2 items, right? But we have submitted 8 items. So it's one of the things why we ask for deferral, because not all information is provided correctly at this point. So yeah, just want to make sure that we review all documents, because what I have on the planning, on the city website, there is not all materials that we submitted, and as mentioned, there is some discrepancy in the report. Yeah, but this is why yes. Yeah, but it's not correct. Yeah, but yes, this information is incorrect. There is 8 variances, and in my waiver there is 8 items, not 2 items. And yes, that's why when I see a report that was dated September 24th, right? So that's why I'm saying I would like to defer to clarify all information and provide kind of everything as is, right?
So if I could just make a comment, regardless if there's, it is your responsibility to make sure the waiver, you filed the waiver. I don't know why the error happened, but it happened. And it is your responsibility to make sure the proper variances are, that you're applying for, especially on a waiver, are there. In any event, the planning department still has concerns with the exact size of the proposed laneway house, whether all the variances are there or not. So if you're only asking that, and we've denied the request for the deferral,
Yeah,
but if that's the only reason you're requesting the deferral, so we have all the variances there, that doesn't fix the fact that the size of the laneway house, according to the planning department, does not fit in within the, you know, they're not in favor of the size of the laneway house in any event. So,
yeah, but yeah,
are
you
you
said.
proposing to make it smaller?
So as I understand, like you're saying, like instead of 8 items, like we, is it correct? I just yeah want to make sure that I understand it properly.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I didn't hear everything you just said.
Yeah, so like in planning report, there is like 2 items like of like for review. But originally, like it should be, and in waiver there is like 8 items, right? Like I understand like that it's not getting smaller, but even like if you're gonna get we're gonna get approval instead of 8 items, like we just gonna get approval for 2 items.
So I just.
There are 2 items there, so that's what you've applied for.
No,
2 variances.
The waiver that I download like from city website, it has like 8 items. So June 17th is like waiver we review right now, or? Yes, like in this case, like I'm not sure, like my caps. Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably, yeah. It's like it's my mistake. So yeah, because like before, like yeah, we had like 2, like 1 waiver and zoning review. There was like 8 items, and right now, like yeah, we review like 2 items. That's why like I'm saying. Mhm. And if you like, could you advise like about like time frame in this case? Like, we're gonna get like new application, or like in this case, like how it's gonna work?
Yeah. Should we remind him that if this decision is rejected, then he cannot reapply within the next 2 years? Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay, I was saying that should we suggest to him that, or just remind him that if this decision is rejected, and I think he couldn't apply for the COA again within the next 2 years with the same matters. Am I right? He could apply within the... I see. Okay. Okay. That's right. Okay. Okay, that's the best offer we can give them.
Yeah, we would like to withdraw our application because it doesn't make sense to review 2 items. So. Yes, please. Yeah.
I'll make this time. So I will make a motion to allow the applicant to withdraw the application without any refund. Okay, happy Thanksgiving.
Exactly. You too.
Yeah.
You too, guys.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Bye bye.
No problem. No problem.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Bye.